Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahmam, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sadashiva Samarambam, Shankaracharya Madhyamam, Asmadacharya Paryandam, Vande Guru Parampara, Sakanavavadu, Sakanaupunaktu, Sakaviryam Karavavakai, Tejasvina, Vadidamustuma Vatvishavake. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Yogena Chittasya Padena Bhajam, Malam Sharirasya Cha Vaitakena, Yopagarotam Pravaram Munina, Patanjali, Prananjali, Anadasvi. Good morning. So, we have taken the Sankalpam to study the Patanjali Sutrani, the Patanjali Sutram. So, before we get into the text proper, we wanted to have some context because we come from the school of Vedanta. So in the last session, we contextualized that the purpose of coming to Yoga Darshana or the Patanjali's Yoga Sutra is to fulfill our promise that in order to pursue the Vedantic study, we qualify because the important instrument, see, Vedanta gives us the Parajnanam, and it gives us in three important steps of Jnana Yoga. What are the three steps? Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasana. But to hold the mind and the intellect to listen carefully in the Shravanam, to articulate and contemplate on what we received in the intellect, and to apply that knowledge and skill means one has to really have very strong intellect, very sharp intellect, very clear mind, steadfast focus, and so on and so forth. So Vedanta is not telling you how to attain all those things, except telling us that please get these qualities. Then when you pursue the Vedantic study, it becomes very clear because Vedanta talks about just only one thing, the truth. So how long we can keep on studying it unless we realize it, it has no utility. So we have come to the practical, the Vijnana of the Sanatana Dharma, which is Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. And it has got two aspects to it. In any school of thought, there is a Tattva Nirnayam or a philosophy of what that school is bringing into. Siddhantam, they say. Anda means the end, conclusion. Chitta means the deliberation. So after analyzing everything, when you conclude this is the philosophy that I am telling, then that becomes the Tattva Nirnayam of the school. So every school, we have got 6 important schools in the Sanatana Dharma under the Astika. Astika means basing on the Vedas, Agama Pramanam is taken fully or completely or partially, whatever. What are the 6 schools? Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, Uttara Mimamsa, or the Vedanta. So Vedanta consolidates the essence of many schools' ideas and take where those schools leave behind the last door, which is kept ajar but not pushed. Because to push that door, you need to be a dhira. You need to change a fundamental shift in the paradox of the previous schools. Vedanta does it, and therefore it shocks us in some other climes. So we come to other schools, look at the other aspect of it. Tattva Nirnayam is one aspect, sadhanam is other aspect. Every school provides the means to understand. And there is no other better school than the school of yoga, which provides the sadhanas to get the Chitta Shuddhi and the Dhrida Buddhi. So what does it mean? It means when we are studying the Yoga Darshana, we are going to be very intensely focused on the sadhanas, not necessarily on the Tattva Nirnayas. Because we know very well, Yoga Darshana, like Sankhya, has got a dualistic view of the eternality, which is at odds with the Vedanta. So, but it is an important step to take. So we will not dwell on those things, but we will very carefully pick up the important steps to make our mind and intellect pure and strong, not only for Vedantic pursuit, even for the life pursuits. Because you will see, without the mind, the psychic part of our embodiment, life is miserable, is it not? So this is allowing us to maybe go back and look at the first principles of, as somebody says, art of living. That's a perfectly beautiful phrase. But we need to know the tact of living, the techniques of living, the tools for living. So what you're going to do today is to conclude the context so that we can say why Patanjali made these statements, these assertions, what drove him to do this, how does it sit comfortably with all other schools? Because you see, when you go to the Vedantic school, you should not feel in your mind, am I missing something else by not studying some other school's thought? You have no, your time is limited, is it not? We can't have any life, any number of lives to study everything else. So there is a time that comes in, you pick and choose what is essential for it. But when you choose that, you must be comfortable that you're not missing anything behind. That is my purpose today, to show you that what we are filtering and picking up is not make us run dry. So yoga is normally said with the prefix Sankhya Yoga. That doesn't mean that it is the same as Sankhya school, but it takes a lot of things from Sankhya. Everything, every other school takes a lot of things from every other school, but particularly on Sankhya. Because Sankhya school, as we saw last time, is sage Kapila. The Puranas talk about Kapila as the incarnation of the Paramatma, Lord Vishnu. But the interesting part is Kapila, we saw as last class in the Tattva Samasa, what he gave it to his disciple Asuri. We took the first two mantras, two slogas, and it said the whole essence of Sankhya Darshana. What does it say? First thing it said, there is grief in the world. Whenever grief comes in, we have a desire to find a means to get rid of the grief. And then it said that desire is not superfluous because every other means of removing the grief in this world is not permanent, not solid. Therefore, in one sloga, he completely discards every means of this physical life, material pleasure, material pursuits, cannot solve the eternal grief that we have. In other words, he said, samsara nivritti is not possible by the means of the worldly science and technology. Everybody agreed? Yes. Then he went to the second sutra. Sankhya Kapila said, well, what is being revealed doesn't seem to be fitting the bill because it is excess, it is violent, it is too confusing. And we said he was meaning the Purva Mimamsika part of Vedas, because Veda as a huge tree is a manual for the humanity. Humanity consists of many different species in terms of elevation of the spiritual progress. Therefore, it gives for everybody a means to live. Therefore, not everything there has to be applied every time. You need to evolve. But when they are stuck with this karmas and rituals and literal meaning, not the lakshyarthas, slaughtering animals, systems of hierarchy, jati, when all this came, this is we are talking about 6,000 years before, at least what the dates they are fixing it on. Kapila said, well, I need to really find something rational using my intellect. This is in a way good, in a way bad. Good in the sense it really regenerates a logical thinking. Bad in the sense he ended up in the same way, not accepting Ishvara. Therefore, the Sankhya Darshana, however wonderful it is in expanding, enumerating, cataloging the creation, did not live long as an independent school of it. So I'm not going to dwell deeper into this, but I'm going to take how from this evolved other schools, in particular Patanjali's Yoga Sutra, and how it relates to Vedanta. So we discussed this before, but again to recap, the dual approach of Sankhya, Kapila, based on Veda as well, has two principles. It said there is a Purusha. Purusha is, you can say, the spiritual energy, profound sentient principle, conscious principle. So conscious spiritual energy is Purusha. And there's the Prakriti, which is unconscious, unmanifest material energy. See, I think, of course, this is in Vedas as well, but he said by yukti. If I put it in a different way, it's not a rocket science, right? Now, if you are asked to describe the creation, and if the God's grace, you start looking at it, you will say, well, I see many, many things in the world. Insentient things, inert things, useful things, precious things, semi-precious things, mundane things, rubbish things. There are many things in the world. And there are many consumers of these things. The difference is the consumer has got a conscious principle. The consciousness may be in a different state of evolution, but I only see that. Therefore, if I want to say, define creation, I would say, yes, there is a sentient principle. Many, many, many Purushas. Purusha means a sentient being. And there is one world, Prakriti. So, very realistic, logical, he said, many Purushas, and there is one Prakriti. The Prakriti is unmanifest, but it is material. Then the Prakriti is got illumined by the Purusha. like a sun illumining a mirror. The Purusha, the illuminator, the conscious principle, illumine, and things are subtle. A rock, you cannot see your face. When you polish the rock, it becomes a marble, you can see the face. When it is like a crystal clear water, you can see the place. So more finer a material becomes, the more reflective it becomes, is it not? Here we're talking about the subtlest of this material thing, Prakriti, which is capable of illuminating, reflecting anything that illuminates. So therefore, it got illuminated by the Purusha. Well, Kapila hasn't got the clue how this illumination happens, because he gone through a process and he got stuck there. He gone through the process of cause and effect. Every effect got a cause. He went on step by step and he got to hit the ceiling. And therefore he said Purusha and Prakriti. But then I am able to analyze the manifested part of the Prakritis, which is called Vikritis. Vikriti means which is effected, manifested. And manifest is Prakriti. Because I'm able to see this effect and I analyze the effect, I see attributes. And Sankhya's philosophy is Satkaryavada. That means effect exists in the cause. Therefore, effect is the parinama of the cause. In other words, effect is a change of the cause. Like a necklace is a change of the gold nugget into a necklace. Therefore, I can study the effect. I can go up there. Therefore, when they studied, able to conclude, again taking the Vedas as an example, and he said, this Prakriti has got indescribable abilities of elements and attributes, but I can group them into three parts. Sattva, Rajas, and Tama. When we learn Bhagavad Gita, you will see a whole chapter on it. Bhagavan says, Sattvam, Rajas, Tama, Idhi, Guna, Prakriti, Sambhava. You have these three, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Please don't take it as it's very difficult to understand, but in a way you can comprehend it if you follow certain principles. Our language is very poor sometimes. You can't say it's a character, an attribute. A good man, bad man. Good is an adjective, an attribute. Goodness defines something. Badness defines something. Therefore, we say gunam is a good gunam. We say, yes, it is like this, but it is finer than that. You can say it is the three fundamental fabrics with which everything is built. Don't afraid to say it is a matter. Okay? Building is, you need a matter, a brick you need. So this goodness brick is a brick, but it's so subtle brick. So sattva means that which illumines, that which balances, that which knows it, that which gives knowledge, that which is the first principle of Prakriti. In other words, the sattva gunam dominated the Prakriti. Now, when all these gunas are completely imbalanced, why should the Prakriti creates what I'm putting it here as Mahatma Buddhi? You'll see what it is. Something changes when some impact hits you, is it not? You are sleeping very peacefully and suddenly a loud bang, you wake up. Your balance is shattered. So the Prakriti is balanced when the gunas are in balance. Sattva, Rajas, and Tama. When the imbalance comes in effect comes out. When a curd is poured into milk and the milk turns into curd. Like that. An example, don't take it too much. So the sattva guna, when it's total dominance in the prakriti, why it is dominating? Because it is animated. First time, like a piece of paper, when you put a concave lens in front of it, sunlight will hit it, the paper burns. The magnet goes away, pull something. So the animated energy makes prakriti to make the chalanam. Sattva dominates, then it becomes an illuminative principle. Okay. What is the common sense? What is illuminate our understanding is buddhi. Therefore, the buddhi become a building block for the world. When the buddhi goes to with one particular purusha, it's one buddhi. My buddhi is different from your buddhi. But if the whole universe buddhi is together, it's called mahat. So it is exactly the same. Mahat, buddhi. Universal sentience, individualized sentience. So it is sattva dominance on it. There is also a attribute, guna, called tamas, tamo guna. Don't think one guna is better, other is bad. Don't say tamo guna is bad. In some places you say like Lord Vishnu is sattva guna, Shiva is tamo guna, Brahma is rajo guna. Sattva is what we need, therefore we don't need Shiva or Brahma. It's not like that. Each is needed to have a balance. Sattvam gives you stability. Sattvam is absorption. Sorry, tamas. Tamas gives stability, tamas is absorption. Sattvam is illuminating, tamas is abiding, consolidating, absorbing, inertia, laziness, dull. Don't we need this? Of course you need. Imagine you are 24 hours active all the time. 6 days, people say if you don't sleep 6 days, you will die because you need to have rest. Stability is needed. You study this Vedanta for 2 hours, your mind spins. You should go and sit down for a while. Absorb. Tamas. So you need tamas as well. Sattva, I have knowledge. Tamas is the absorption. But sometimes you need to do action. That's called rajas. So in simply, you want to have one word. Sattva is elimination. Tamas is stability. Rajas is energizing. Energizing, eliminating, stabilizing. In a positive way. Negative way, rajas is passionate, scattered, running around, emotional. Tamas is laziness, inertia, dull. Sattva is stuck on one place, however good it is, not giving up. See, mukti means giving up. Even sattva, guna ditam, you need to transcend this guna. But because mahat or buddhi is the first modification, which is the dominance of sattva guna, you can understand sattva reacts very fast to the purusha's chaitanya. Therefore, what reacts faster has got a close affinity to the purusha. Therefore, if you have sattva guna dominance, you are able to transcend even sattva guna and understand God. Therefore, generally we will say sattvam is the leading principle for us. We should go towards sattvam. But you need tamas and rajas to live. But you have to really transcend them. So this mix is called guna. You have to really understand this. We are going to go in great detail in the Yoga Sutra. In Bhagavad Gita, you will learn about it. Because this is what you are going to manipulate. To lead a successful life, not just for Vedanta. It is not enough to comb your hair, build the muscles, all this thing. But they are all, after all, gunas. So we need to really address this building blocks. From this came out, this is also Sankhya philosophy, the third one, called Ahamkara. This Ahamkara is not, don't think as a vanity or a pride or arrogance. No, it's not that. This is identification with that effect. Very important part. Abhimana, Ahamkara. This is not that. Idam, the concept of idam comes in. This, that, the duality, multiplicity comes in. Again, it is eliminating, therefore it is sattvic in nature. See, this is coming. So either you can take yourself, how you are being created, or the world. The world is Hiranyagarbha, the one big Purusha, representing all of us. Or you can think of yourself, Purusha is I. So how are you formed? The buddhi formed. When the fetus is born, what is before the physical form? The buddhi forms. The first few days of conception, the buddhi form. If you go to, there is a beautiful script called Jiva Brahma Vedanta Rahasya. It talks about all this in a such a way, and I have only limited knowledge in all this, but I compared this with the science, and profoundly matching. Anyway, that's a different part. So from this ahamkara, now we become individualized. Ahamkara comes in, I come in, you come in. Therefore, my mind comes in, your mind comes in. Now you see from the cosmic part, the macrocosmic part, we come to the microcosmic part. So the sattvic part again, when it's dominant, it creates manas and indriyas. I put number 4 to 13, just for you to remember this. From the Tattvabodha, we learned it. Manam, Chittam, Buddhi, Ahankaram. So Buddhi already taken, Manam, Chittam, Ahankaram. Then 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas. So all this becomes sattvic dominance, because if you are hearing, means hearing is a eliminating of sound. Therefore, the physical ear is gross, the subtle indriya for hearing is subtle, and it has got a dominance of sattvic guna. That's why while sleeping, with tamasic dominant, therefore you can't, hearing is not eliminated. Understand? So you see, tamasic is also there. It takes control at some time. This control balancing act all the time happens. It's called biorhythm. That's why sometimes you see, this person is always nice, but suddenly he gets angry. I don't know why he gets angry. Then he smiles and talks to me. I can't understand this person. But it is not his problem. His gunas are changing. He is reacting to the gunas. Had he learned how to manage these gunas, he may be able to pursue a particular path where the dominance of sattva may remain. So all this in sattvic part. Same time, the tamasic started and it created what's called a tanmatra. Tanmatra is the 5 important elements from the Mahat, from Buddhi, to create senses. They are Sapta, Gandha, like that, tasting, smelling, all the senses, the principle of it, the philosophy of it, the subtle part of it create. It is tamasic dominance. But in between these two, also assume that rajasic plays a role. So it is all 3 gunas coming in, but the dominant part is sattvic and tamasic. Again, I put 14 to 18, which is the 5 subtle senses. Then, see, these are all prakriti and vikruti. Cause and effect. Prakriti is cause, unmanifested cause. Prakriti is an effect. So an effect can further create an effect. The Tanmatra creates Panchabhutas. Space, water, air, fire, and Prithvi. See, this is what we studied in Tattva Bodha as well. So then he took this further and he said, look, the Prakriti is a linga. Lingam means a token of identification. Shiva Lingam means a stone which identifies Shiva. We don't say Shiva Murti because it is no Murtam, it's just a Lingam. When you have a form, you say Nadaraja Murti, Rama Murti, Krishna Murti. When you have a form created with a little bit more imagination, again, Murti is also a Lingam, but it has got a form. Anyway, so Alingam means unidentified, unmarked, unknown. It is as subtle as the Parashivam, Prakriti, Shakti, Maya. You cannot find it. Undefinable, Alingam. The Mahat or Buddhi is indicated, Linga Matra. You can't really find it because my mind was sleeping. It doesn't know what's happening. But the morning it writes poetry, it talks about things. That means there is a change happen. So therefore, the Mahat is indicated, Buddhi is indicated. Therefore, there is a Linga Matra. There is a kind of indication there. You see, this is a very rational thinking here going on. Then the Ahankara is common to everybody. Everybody got it. So you may have, your name may be, Dr. Mani, Balaji, Raj, Raja. You can say it's my name, Ahankara. You'll say I, Nan, I, Aham. That is not Vishesham, that is Avishesham. Common, general. So Ahankara principle is general principle. Tanmatra, tasting, smelling, it's also common. See, Kapila's goal is to categorize everything, enumerate, categorize. So he's categorizing it for helping us to resolve the problem. Then the Manas, Buddhi, Indriyas, Panchabhutas, they are Vishesha, very special. They are getting grossification. So the Sankhya did all this and he said, look, to be free from the trouble of grief, you remember that you are a Purusha, but you are mixed with all these things. So Patanjali said, so what? It doesn't help me. It gives me more knowledge. See, I am now leaving the Sankhya school. This is what is Sankhya, Tattva Nirnayam and elements. Patanjali asked the question what it is. We will know who is Patanjali and his legend. We'll talk about in a minute. But he said, yeah, fine. What is it? So the Vaisheshika school picked up where Sankhya left. Vaisheshika, you can say it as Vishesham. They focused on what is Vishesham. They are again a kind of rationalist. They all believed in Vedas, but they wanted to think through their intellect and say, look, I'm going to now, thank you very much, Kapila. I'll take this Vishesham. I'm going to analyze it. I'm going to experiment with this. The physics started. Physical science started. They took how can physics work on physics? Classical physics works on physical things. That's why it's called physics. Metaphysics is different. Quantum physics is now different. Again, it is also talking about physical part. Quantum physics may be a subtle part. They think a photon is a quanta. Quanta means measurable. So they did the physical science. I'm not going to go into the detail of it. It is called atomic anu. What they did was they took the Panchabhutas, they took the whole Indriyas to the minus sixth one, they added time and space because Sankhya did not show time and space. All this happened because they measured time. It's before. When you say it happened before, the word before means it is not now. Therefore, there is a time. Therefore, time means space. Therefore, they took the Panchabhutas, 5 minus 6, time 7, space 8. This reflecting principle, the conscious principle as Atma, 9. They call it as Dravyas. Dravya means resource to interpolate, deliberate, analyze. So with these 9 Dravyas, Vaisheshikas did physics experiments and they come to some conclusions. Of course, it gave birth to many Indian physics. All the Indian science came from this Vaisheshika principles. Very beautiful physical aspects are there. But imagine all these are happening on the insentient analytical part, anatomic part. The Nyaya school picked up the Vaisheshika school because what happened was Vaisheshikam start believing, even Nyaya start believing the Atma which is there, the only sentient part, is nothing but an anu, a paramanu, a small atom, smallest of the atom. Because they are looking at the physics part of it, like what the God's particle we are looking for. We're trying to analyze, and you want to see the small part because I started with an onion, a big onion. I can touch and feel it. I keep on peeling it. The finest part of this onion has to be a physical part, is it not? Therefore, they thought Paramanu, the Anu, it was not gelling very well because the mathematics was not very elaborate. Therefore, they bring argument, logic. So Nyaya brought the logical arguments, induction. Therefore, before I go into this one, I want to establish what are the tools for knowledge. Therefore, they start defining pramanas in more elaborately. Anumana pramana. You don't need to have physical part. You can have induction, inferences. Well, I can also take the Vedas, Agama pramana. So they spend a lot of time in defining the tools of knowledge. For what? To justify the Atma as a microcosmic Anu. Therefore, you have to dwell deep into this. How to go? They don't have a clue. How can I not go up to the Mahat? Why should I dwell deep? Why can't I expand myself and look at the cosmos? Physics tells me I can go up and look at it. Yeah, but how do you do it? I don't know. So these schools took us to the edge of the cliff and then let you think through it. Then come the Purva Mimamsa school. This school said, yeah, excellent, all this is fine. But when this is all happening, guys, you're talking about the effects. Effects is happening. We are finding out how it is happening, but we do not know why it is happening. Who is making all this? The Ishvara. Before questioning him, let us do what will please him. There is an order in all these things. The order tells you the action. There are actions which makes it ritualistic. Therefore, we will focus on, for our goodness, the rituals of what the Vedas say. So they brought the Agama Pramanam, the Nyaya school, to the top tier. All your buddhi is important, protection is important. But the most important thing is what the Vedas tell you. And I'm not going to focus on everything Vedas says because it's very clear to me. Ishvara created all this. Ishvara did an action We should respond back with action that we owe. They are rituals. They are in the Karma Kanda. Focus on it. So they picked up on the Karma Kanda, did rituals and actions, accepting all this, but focusing on that because what is the end goal? It is not knowing God. If you know God and God does nothing to you, it is as if knowing me. I don't know anything to you. So you want to know God because you think God will solve the problem, is it not? If God is not going to solve the problem, are we going to need temples? No. So therefore, he says, problem can be solved by doing this yajna. You do this putra kamesh yagam, you get putra. You do this ashtama yagam, you get this thing. You do this, you go to Shvarga. Forget about Brahman, all this. No need. You be a Dasana Dasan, worship him. Karma is your goal. Patanjali was not happy. Everybody is saying things and then pick up the shortcut to solve your problem, focusing on your table right now. But I want to solve everything. What do I do? So he thought this elaboration, Sankhya's categorization, Vaisheshika's experimentation, Nyaya school's rationalization, Purva Mimamsa's ritualization, all that has given me different thoughts to deal with what has been expounded by all of you. This is because expansion happened, problem expanded. And then each one of you are holding on to the expanded effect and trying to resolve it. Why not I do something else? If it comes out of it, let it go back. It means let me take the effect back into the cause. If I take the effect into the cause, I am bringing something back into this. The word yuj means to join, to merge, to abide. That root give the word yoga. Please bear in mind, every word has got infinite number of meanings. Whatever the word we learnt in Vedanta will have a different meaning here. It's very important to make note of those things. So therefore, Patanjali's approach is therefore to find a way to take the effect back into the cause so that he can go back to the root of all the problems. Then you can solve the problem or you can dissolve the problem. So he is not interested in any more articulation of a new philosophy, but he wants to take the philosophies that is made so profoundly and create a process of practical use. Of course, he is also going to take you to a point in a cliff and going to leave it to you to decide. Thankfully, we have Vedanta to hold our hand there. But therefore, what I labeled the point because we are going to go into the Patanjali's Yoga Sutram now, but you are not missing anything of any school because we are going to take every school's essence as a building block. Therefore, what is Yoga Darshana? Darshana means knowledge. Yoga, we are going to study it so many times, what the terms means. Right now, you say it is a science of knowing one true self. Or you can say a practical way of living, because art of living. Let's take a very, very practical step. I want to be happy. So the practical means, according to Yoga Darshana, is Kaivalyam, not moksha. What is Kaivalyam means? Literal meaning is separation. Actually, it means liberation. You would know by very easily now because everything is coming out of something else, and there is a kind of a mix there. We are unmixing it and going back to separate what? The Purusha from Prakriti. So when you are able to separate this, you attain Kaivalyam. But interesting, Bhagavan says, Gita also, Jnanameva Kaivalyam. To attain that separation, you need Jnanam. But here we are giving yoga, because yoga is going to give the Jnana. So therefore, it is based on Sankhya Yoga, but it is not Sankhya Yoga because it is bringing Ishvara into this. Saha Ishvara Sankhya Darshana. It is giving us some comfort because, in our mind, we are thinking yoga means, put the head down and the leg over the head and, and there are so many yogas, you go to some holy places in India, they have the Patanjali yoga in 14 days and level 1, level 2 and HP2 yoga, rapid yoga, fire yoga. There are so many yogas and we are not talking about all those things. Patanjali yoga is not that. There are things, there are Hatha yoga, which is a very important yoga, Laya yoga, Tantric yoga. But we are talking about what Vivekananda calls Raja yoga, which is the embryo of all other yogas. For example, yogasana, we say, right? There are 1 lakh yogasana, they say. Shiva Sutra shows 1800 yogasanas, and Iyengar's yoga shows 55 asanas and all that. And you're expecting Patanjali to elaborate all this? Is he going to say 1 sutra? We're going to see those things. So, who is Patanjali? So I said the prayer, Yogena Chittasya Patena Vacham Malam Sarirasya Chavaitya Kena. So this is the prayer sloga to Patanjali. We will understand the sloga's meaning and we will recite it every day, every time. Yogena Chittasya Patena Vacham Malam Sarirasya Cha Vaidyakena. Yogena Vaidyakena Patena. Yogena means the third vibhakti, by yoga, by the means of yoga. Padam, by means of the padam, words. Vaidya, by means of medical studies. What does he do? Chittasya malam, vachasya malam, sarirasya malam. Chittam means we are going to learn about chittam, the mind. Malam means purity. The purity in the mind. Vacham malam, the purity in the words. Sarirasya malam, purity in the body. So now he talks about the 3 purities, impurities. Malam means impurity. So malam in the body, malam in the words, malam in the mind. Yo means who. Paga uttamam. The one who removes that is the apakam, means yo apakam. Apakam means remover. Yo means that person. Uttamam is a great person. Pravaram Muninam, he is the greatest of the Munis. Who is he? Patanjali. He is Patanjali. Prana Jari Anatos Asmi. Pranjali means I'm doing with both hands Anjali. I'm worshipping him. Who is he? Patanjali. What do he do? He does remove the malams from the mind, word, and the body. The impurities of the mind, body, and the words. In other words, impurities of whatever we do. Because in the world, what we do things. The 3 things we do. We do things by the mind. We do things by the words, by speaking, and we do things by the body. Everything comes into this kayena vacha manasyendraya. In other words, in whatever we do, the impurities of what we do is removed by sage Patanjali. Who is this Patanjali? So there are a lot of legends. We will not go into great story. What's the time? Okay. But interesting to put in context. We have a lot of Puranas, a lot of legends, and the most prominent one, interesting one, probably you all know it. So Patanjali is also one of the Siddha Purusha of the Saivism. He is also seen as the witnessing the dance of Lord Nataraja. But here, in this prayer, interesting things comes through. Chittasya malam remover. He removes the mind impurities by the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. So therefore, he is the author of the Yoga Sutra. Therefore, by doing the Yoga Sutra, by understanding it, by practicing it, we become pure in our mind. That's why we came to this Yoga Sutra class. Yeah. Then he is also purify the vak tapas. Kitam vata, satyam vata. When you speak to somebody, why speaking also from body? By why it is a separate instrument? Because you look at the child, his body has no use. It cannot walk, do anything. But it can just cry and make the mother do everything. Mother will dance to the child's crying. Words are very powerful. Sound is very powerful. So to make this language pure, better, beautiful, hitam, satyam, it has to have a structure. So the Panini's Ashtadhyaya, the Sanskrit book, Grantha, Patanjali wrote a wonderful bhashyam called Mahabhashyam. The Mahabhashyam is to illustrate and expand the grammar of meta languages. Sanskrit is an example. Therefore, he does purify the language. Then I think they are saying he has wrote a book called Charaka Samhita, which is about an Ayurveda, a medical journal about controlling impurities of the body. They say the book is not available, and some people claim they have it, so we do not know. But legend says he was Adisesha. You can see him, his pictures, his figures, all as a serpent. A serpent is in the head or in the tail. Not this Navagraha. Don't look at the Navagraha there. They are very different. Here, he is pictured as the Adisesha, Ananta. Adisesha is the one who is the bed of Mahavishnu, who is holding the whole planet Earth on his head. The Tantric would say he is a symbol of snake because he symbolizes the Kundalini Shakti, which is a serpent in the Tantric way of doing it. The legend says that he was as a comfortable cushion of Paramatma. What it means is that he is the latent potency of Paramatma. It is not that Mahavishnu is lying in a sleeping bed like snake and he is sleeping it. You can think about it. But what means the subsiding part of the Parabrahman is that which holds everything. That is what purify everything. So the legend says, I think when in the Pralayam, when the the Dandavam is, Shivam is dancing in a cosmic dance, The Paramatma in the form of Mahavishnu is enjoying the dance, lying down on this comfortable bed, enjoying it, and got involved in this cosmic dance. The Samyukta has happened. So the involvement happened because Shiva Vishnu merging is always happening, right? So therefore he becomes so involved and so strong, so intense in his power. His gravitas grew by witnessing the dance. The dance comes with a wonderful dhamar. The shabda is there everywhere. The Ananta who was lying underneath the Mahavishnu could not see that, but he could not bear the increasing weight of Vishnu. He was in a way suffocating, but he was able to enjoy this dance. The jati, the weight was so overbearing. When this dance absorbed, come to Shantam, then Ananta asked the Paramatma, what happened? So the legend shows Vishnu says, well, I'm witnessing the dance of Shiva. So that created this intense gravitas. Then he asked, I want to see the Lord, Shiva's dance. I want to understand this dance. I want to dance. I want to analyze these pathas. And this physical pain I had, I want to find a cure with the intense pressure on me. So Bhagavan smiled and said, yes, you will have a time for it. And then, this is all Puranas, right? Then there was a tapasya. The thing is, the Puranas gives you an interesting antidote because everything have to happen in the world. Everything happens here. That's why Prithvi is the most important part in the whole universe. Manusha Janma is the most important part to change things. So therefore, he will manifest. So there was a lady called Gokini, who was a yogini, tapasvini. And she was a spinster. She was just doing a tapasvi. And then she's coming to the end of her physical life in this world. And she wanted to replant her yoga shakti to a prodigy. Therefore, she takes the water in her hand and pray to the Pratyaksha Brahma, which is the sun god. And then she prays. When she prays, before she gives the body, and then opens the hand, she takes the water and holds the hand. And then when she opens the hand, she sees a little snake. And the snake then becomes a child. Patanam means falling down. Patam. Patam means food. Patam also falling down. Anjali means worshipped hand. So Patanjali means what is fallen into the worshipped hand. You can take, this is a metaphor, this is a poetry. You can take it literally as happened, that's also fine. It also, when you pray, see what do you do when you go to God, you pray, and then you open the hand, see, put me, I'm begging, let me have your grace. So the grace of Parabrahman is Patanjali. So much on the legend. You can go to internet and find a lot of stories and do that. Then that is yoga. So okay, another part is so interesting one. I think it's interesting to know for the Yoga Sutra point of view. So this child is growing and get the knowledge from her mother, his mother. And he was flowing with wonderful knowledge, which is inexplicable. See, the truth is very difficult to hold. It's like the pregnant woman's ecstasy. She cannot explain. It may be painful to you to see, look at it. For her, it is not a pain. It's a pain, but it is a pleasure. It's a pleasure like eating a ladu? Maybe. Can she explain? No. But can she experience? Yes. So anything profound in life is beyond words. So if you are going to explain it, you are limiting it. So this yogi, Patanjali, has this profound knowledge. So a lot of people ask for them to teach, and then he says, well, I need 1,000 disciples to come who has got the pure mind to listen to what I'm going to say. So 1,000 people one day assembled in the Meru River. And then he says, look, I'm going to say this in the language which is profound, the language of silence, eloquence. Because your mind is tuned. We are going to learn in the Yoga Shastra that how you tune your mind to listen to silence. When you listen to silence, things will come to you. We generally call it an idea. Idea dawned. Idea did not dawn. Idea come to you as a shabda to you, and you're able to listen to it. So 1,000 people sat in there, but then he drew a curtain. And then I'm going to sit on the side. I'm going to say in silence, you're going to take a note of it. But during this thing, I put in two conditions. Nobody should leave until I finish. And nobody should open the screen. Okay, this is to add some spice to the story, but this is how it is. You see, mystery, awesome things should be there in knowledge. Black and white is boring. Because when it is interesting, it creates you to think new things. So this is how the story goes. So halfway, one student, God willing, he's got his nature's call and he has to go. So he sneaked out. The others were listening. But maybe one inquisitive boy there, I said, this boy has gone. I must comply to the teacher because I am the monitor of this class. I'm also very curious to know the teacher is not saying anything, but I'm able to write. Something comes to my mind. What is this teacher doing? So curiosity killed the cat. So he moved the curtain. There, with his 1,000 heads, Adisesha was in a yogic posture, emanating this poisonous jnanam. Jnanam is called Shri. In Mahavishnu's, Shri is sitting on the foot of this. See, when you look at the Adisesha's head, if you spit out the venom, it goes to Shri. Shri is the one. Shri means nectar. Shri means jnanam. Shri Kantan, she was there, Shri Kantan. He wearing Shri in his Kantam. But in Kantam, he's got poison, is it not? Shri means poison. What kind of poison? The poison that removes all the samsara. So he was emitting it. Physically, here it means all the boys are dead. So he wakes up and he becomes a normal human being as a Patanjali, as a rishi. And you see ashes everywhere. And he regrets. Now he's a human being, he regrets. I came here to impart this knowledge, the knowledge which I cannot hold. I gave two conditions. The innocent boys missed up that. What am I going to do? He was sitting there regretting it. The time the boy who missed the class and went halfway, of course, people say he's Gaudapadar. I don't know. So there are time differences comes through. So let's not go into the historic analysis. That boy comes back, does all the achamanam, because when you make a mistake, you always do achamanam. He does the achamanam. And he says, forgive me, I have to go. That's why I did. This teacher was so happy. He actually did not follow the rule. He made a curse for it, punishment for it. But he is the only one left. But he at least learned something. And he says, He embraces him and said, look, great, you came. But I need to do fine for you because you missed the class. Therefore, you become a Brahma Rakshasa. That means you become a Rakshasa until such time, whatever I taught you, you are able to impart to him. And he says, okay, what do I do? Write down whatever you taught, wait for the student to come. Then he goes away. Then this boy writes everything in a leaf before he becomes a Brahma Rakshasa. And he's physically write down everything on a leaf. But then a goat comes and eats all the leaves. It's gone. He becomes the Brahma Rakshasa now. So he is now lying down on a tree and waiting for it. Somebody to come and ask for him. And another legend says, nobody came asking for it. Brahma Rakshasa on the tree. Then Patanjali become merciful and he comes back again as Gaudapata. There's another story like this. And then the way that the Brahma Rakshasa test is that because he has already read the Mahabhashyam as well from this. So he will ask some Sanskrit riddle, grammar riddle, and whoever solves it knows that he's an able person or something. And then the story goes on. I think he gave it to them, and then it comes through. So that is how all this is telling us something. An insight is this is a treasure. This has been, people have been yearning to get this, and it has come down. Come down as what? As a sutra. So I'm going to stop it here. I've already taken 10 minutes. So in summary, we learned about Patanjali. We learned about what he's going to teach is the essence of many schools of thought. Therefore, we are not missing anything. Now, what he is teaching is Yoga Sutra. Therefore, we must understand what is yoga, what is sutra, what is Yoga Sutra, and how are we going to learn this. So hopefully we will do that in the next class and then start into the text proper. So I finish it now. We'll do the Shanti Padam. Om Asatoma Satgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoma Amridam Gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. That was
Thank you, Raja.
really
Very
Very nice. Very
wow,
nice.
it's amazing.